Do you want to elevate your leadership style? If so, keep watching because today I'm sharing 7 books that have changed my leadership style in both professional and personal. See you there. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wine After 5, the podcast where we unwind after the work week and we put the human before the technology. My name is Mayrian, and I am the host for this podcast. For those of you who doesn't know me, I've been in business for over 15 years, and 10 out of those 15 years has been in leadership and management positions. And today, we're going to be talking about books. Yes, finally, we're going to have the time to make my bookshelf shine. And before you ask, a little anecdote, a fun fact moment, I'm going to be drinking water from that point on my Gramley tumbler. And the reason because of that, it's because I recorded this video 3 times already. And this is the 3rd time that I've recorded because the last one, I didn't notice that the mic was muted. So I was drinking wine on that particular one. It was about 1 hour and 45 minutes, 1 hour and 43 minutes. So I'm reaching the wine, taking the water today, in order to keep the sanity for this particular video. Hope you enjoy it because I'm putting a lot of effort to record it and re-record it regardless of the bumps on the road. For more news of how I feel after I noticed that it didn't have audio, go ahead and watch the shorts. There are 2 shorts dedicated to this video and my emotions after I noticed what was going on. So now that I share that with you, let me explain how this video is going to work. I will section this video in 3 different parts. The first part of this video is me explaining why reading books is important for both your personal and professional development. The second part of this book is about how I consume books. Trust me, it is important for upcoming videos. And the third one, it's me talking about the 7 book recommendations for physical books that I will have on this particular video. So if you want to skip any of those parts, go ahead and look at the time frame on the description below. And go ahead and do so. I hope you don't. The first part of the video, why do I consider that reading books is important for your personal and professional development? Something that I've noticed across my leadership journey and my experiences, and something that was reinforced recently by Harvard Business School on their climb certification, is the fact that the DNA of a leader is composed by 2 different helixes, just as a human DNA. The first helix is about professional growth, the hard skills that you have that qualify you to become a leader, the knowledge that you have about the business, the knowledge that you have about products and service, the certifications, and in some cases, the bachelor degrees or master's degrees that you have in order to perform a specific role. While the second one is your personal development. What soft skills are you developing and are you enhancing that goes hand in hand with the professional or the hard skills that you're building? So they come together and build the DNA of a leader. While you learn professional skills, you also need to learn other personal skills. To put it more simple, the skills, both hard and soft, that you need when you're on an entry-level role are not the same that you will require when you become a supervisor. Also, depending on the company that you work for and the culture of that particular company, you will need to develop certain soft skills that goes hand in hand with the values, mission, and vision of that company, regardless of the hard skills or the certifications or the titles that you have won over the years. That said, reading books is extremely important because they help you to nurture both the professional knowledge, learning from other leaders out there, for other CEOs that go through the journey and are willing to share the knowledge with you, similar to John C. Maxwell or Jim Collins. And reading personal books can help you develop certain soft skills that you will need to tie to those hard skills in order to be able to thrive in the business market. With that said, how do I consume books? I consume books in any shape and form in which they come. I consume manga and comic books. I consume fantasies, I consume mystery books, and I consume professional and personal leadership books. I read physical books, which is the topic in which we're going to be focusing today's video, but I also listen to audiobooks. And I also go to the store, and I also go to the library, and I also rent books in order to read them or to listen to them. Here's why that is important. This video is going to be focused on physical books that I've read in the past 2 years and that have made the cut for me to consider them valuable assets that you must read on this year or the upcoming year. Don't worry, I will be sharing the link to my Amazon storefront right in the description of this video, so you will be able to click there and have the compilation, every single book that we're going to be talking about today, so you will be able to buy it, whether it's in a paperback, hardcover, or in an audible version. And that ties to a second video that I'm going to be linking here, which is also coming up today, in which I'm going to be talking about the personal and professional books that I recommend you to read or to listen that I've consumed on an ebook format through my Kindle or through Audible. Audible is an app from Amazon, which is not sponsored in this video, in which you can access books and listen to them instead of reading them. I will be linking the Audible link to the description of this video so you can download the app and start listening to audiobooks today. If you want to give it a try, by using my link, you will get up to 3 credits of Audible, which means 3 months free for the use and consumption in any of these books or any other books that you might be interested in. Without further ado, let's go ahead and present you to the list of 7 books that I'm going to be talking about today. As a reminder, these are books that I physically own and that make the cut to be recommendable to you guys. So these are personal and professional books that have impacted my career over the past 2 years. Book number 1 is From Good to Great by Jim Collins. This book can be considered one of the pillars of professional and business culture. Jim Collins can also be considered one of the pillars when it comes to influencing and inspiring through leadership, both in the professional and the personal aspects of someone's life. This book in particular leans heavily into the professional aspect of a leader and the professional aspects of business. A quick story about this book and the impact that it has had in my life, because, and the importance of reading books, even if it's just to open a conversation with someone. Because I've read this book, I was able to bond with one of the top 3 CEOs of the United States. Long story short, we were talking to him on a dinner for a business that I used to work with. And during the dinner, he commented about the book From Good to Great from Jim Collins and how the cultural aspect of the book impacted his leadership style. Happened to be that I was the only person in the room that I have also read the book, and I also like about the book the cultural aspect of it. So I was able to establish conversation with him and let him know how this particular book and how it approached culture or business culture has impacted the way in which I was influencing the culture of the business that I used to work with. What is this book about? In this book, Jim Collins takes a couple of businesses across the United States and he dissects them and shows us what it takes for a business to go from good to great and what it takes for a business to thrive in the ever-changing landscape of business development. So you will see here that he took a couple of businesses, he showcased the analytics, he showcased the CEO and the CEO skills at that time, and how they were able to transform business from good to great. So while their competitors remain stagnant or they just simply disappear from the business landscape. It is, again, heavily on the sides of business development, and it has a lot of analytics details. So it will take quite some time to go through the book if you're not used to finance terms, analytics terms, and business development referrals. But it's a good book to go through. The top lessons that I've learned from this book that has impacted the way in which I lead people are, first of all, the way in which the book describes the 5 levels of leadership. Hint and notes, these 5 levels of leaderships are not the same one that I talk about in this video here. The ones in the video here are from John C. Maxwell, who is the second pillar of leadership authors. Jim Collins in this book refers specifically to the 5 levels of leadership in which people grow professionally. So basically title. He explained here how you start as a team lead, then you grow to the supervisor role, you evolve to the coordinator role, then you get transferred or promoted to manager, and eventually you made it to the executive level of a company, which is directors, C-suite, VPs of businesses. That's the first thing that you will get from here. So that will help you craft your professional path or the professional path that you're willing to follow. The second lesson that you will get from this book, it's in regards of business culture. And that is why I'm referring this book the most out of most books that I've read about professional development. It is because few books touch on the importance of business culture and the relevance that business culture had into helping a business not only to maintain, not only to thrive, but also to evolve from good to great. And in this particular book, Jim Collins talked about the culture of discipline. And by that, he means that when you are willing to create a business that it's great, you need to make sure that the culture and the business it's relevant, that the people that you are hiring in leadership roles and their values align with the mission and the vision of the company. And not only that, but also that you remove micromanagement from the equation. Because in a business in which micromanagement is law, the business will not thrive. And lastly, the third learning that this book has, and the reason why I'm recommended it, it's because of the hedgehog concept. And what is a hedgehog concept? It means that as a business owner and as a business, you need to find the thing that you're passionate about as a company. Then you need to find the thing that you're good at as a company. So the product or service that you're good at. And lastly, you need to find what can generate revenue for your business. So once you have the thing that you're passionate about, the product and service that you're good at, and something that you can generate revenue of, or a way to generate revenue out of that thing that you're good at, and you're passionate about, you will have the perfect formula in hand to create a business that is not only a good business, but that can be launched and thrive to greatness. Now let's go to the book number 2. Now, book number 2 for today's video is Ikigai. And Ikigai is a book that was written by Hector Garcia and Frances Miralles. And the book is about the journey that both authors did to Japan. And when they were in Japan, they discovered the concept of Ikigai not only as a word, but as a concept. And they figure out how embedded it is in the Japanese culture. So on the first part of the book, they took us through that self-discovery journey. They go into Japan, they getting in touch for the first time with the concept, seeing how the whole Japanese culture surround or moved around the Ikigai concept. And then they took us to the city of Okinawa, which is where the term Ikigai was born. It happens to be the city in the world with the highest rate of people lifespan. So people in Okinawa used to live 102 years in average. And the reason for that is because they have found their Ikigai, which is the purpose of life. It's being able to live a life with purpose. Is when you find that thing that you're passionate about, that you know how to do, that you're extremely good at, and that you can generate income from that. But not only that, but also help you to be impactful in community, to generate impact in society, and to leave your mark behind. The reason why this book is the second one after From Good to Great, that is because the actual concept here, it's inspired in Ikigai. I will show you here. This is the graphic on how they describe Ikigai. I will be adding this in the community tab here in YouTube, and I will also be linking a picture of it into my Instagram. So feel free to go to the community tab here in YouTube or to access to my Instagram, which is Wine After 5. 5 is the number. You can see the link below to get more details in regards of this graphic. If you subscribe to my newsletter today, you will be getting the free template to and determine what is your Ikigai. Go ahead and subscribe to my newsletter. You will get that template today. Going back to the book, Ikigai asks you first 4 questions. The first question is what you love. The second question is what the world needs from you. The third question is what can you get paid for? And the last question is what you're good at. And in every intersection of these 4 questions, you find something of value for your life. Let me share you something about myself so you can see how Ikigai works. When you get what you're good at and what you love, and the intersection of those 2 things, you find your passion. So in my case, I'm good at developing people and I'm good at developing business, especially on their operations and strategies. Now, what I love to do is to see people grow and develop and to see business thrive. I feel passionate about grabbing a people or a business when they are on the seed stage so I can plant them, I can nurture them, and I can see them grow into the big tree that they have the potential to become. And that's why it is my passion to help people and businesses grow. And that's why my company is about consulting people and consulting business to thrive and become better and be able to survive in the ever-changing landscape of business. Now, when you add to what you're good at something that you get paid for, you find your profession. And that's in my case, I can get paid for consulting and guiding people and businesses and coaching them to thrive for a better future. So that's my profession. So in every single one of the 4 questions intersection, you will find your passion, your profession, your mission, and your vocation. And where all of those intersect, then it is your Ikigai. It is your purpose of living. It is something that you will be able to do for the rest of your life without this encouragement, because you will be able to sustain yourself and your family out of it, and you will be able to work every single day without feeling regrets, because you will not be feeling as if you're working. As you can see, this is a book that will help you on a professional level, but also on a personal level. And once you master Ikigai and the aspects of it and how to implement it in your life, the good part is that you will also be able as a leader to guide your people to find their Ikigai as well. And hopefully it will be something that will align with your values, with the mission and the vision of your company. So it will help you to start generating a great business culture and loyalty from your peers. With that said, let's go to book number 3. And book number 3 is none other than The Bible on Manifestation, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Why do I say the Bible on Manifestation? It is because this book inspired quite of a movement a couple of years ago. There have been many versions of this book, and there's also movies about this book. I'm in the fences with this book, and I debated whether to include it or not in this particular list, but at the end, I decided to do so. So here is my problem with the book. Some people have taken this book and treat it as if manifestation is magic. It's a whole bunch of hocus pocus in which you just repeat yourself a mantra every single day and magically things will happen. Let's put, for example, I want to get paid $10,000 on a monthly basis. And I repeat tomorrow, I want to get paid $3,000 on a monthly basis. And then the day after that, I want to get paid $10,000 on a monthly basis, and so on and so forth, hoping that just because of the sheer power of repeating myself, of manifesting it, it will happen. However, this is my interpretation of this book, and this is why in the end, I decided to include it to this list. First of all, part of it was an inspiration of my current book, Lead Like You Mean It, in the terms of visualizing and manifesting and creating habits. Second of all, this book has interesting exercises within them that help you to actually visualize what you want to obtain in life. For example, it has a blank check within the book that you're supposed to fill with your name, with the exact amount in dollar, pesos, or wherever your country currency is that you want to get paid on a monthly basis, and a date in which you will cash out that check. And the reason for that is so you can start visualizing the people that you want to become. And that opens the question to what title does the people that earn $10,000 on a monthly basis or higher has? Is it an entry level? Is it a supervisor? Is it a manager? What type of business? What type of skills? What type of habits? What type of knowledge does that people bring to the table? And that's when you start manifesting things in your life, because you start visualizing who you want to become and you start generating micro habits that in the end, it's a compound of those micro habits, the one that will take you from manifesting to reality. I'll share another story with you about something real in my life. I consider myself the queen of manifestation, and I've talked about this before in one of the episodes of Wine After 5 when we were just a podcast. I will be adding the link to that Spotify audio down in the description box of this video. Yes, it was back when we were just audio, but I think it adds a lot of value to this episode today. The apartment in which I'm currently living, I manifested. And when I say I manifested, yes, I was following the process by The Secret. Actually, I was reading The Secret by the time in which I started manifesting that apartment. So it has a lot to do with it. And when I say manifesting, I mean every single time that I walk to work in the morning, I passed by this building, and every single time I did it, I said, in August of next year, I will be living in that apartment. In August of this year, I will be living in that building, and it's going to be next floor, and it's going to be, and I'm going to be looking at New York, and so on and so forth. And not only that, whenever I have visitors, whether it was my family, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, I keep repeating to them, next year, I'm going to be living there. So plan your vacations. You can come and visit us in this apartment and blah, 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 blah. And after that, I start taking actions. I start verifying how much an apartment in this building costs and how much I will need to be making on a monthly basis to be able to afford this apartment. What was the next level within my business to which I can scale in order to make the base salary that I need in order to be able to afford this apartment? Also, what school district was it in? To which school were my kid gonna go? Was it safe for them? How can my kids thrive in the school? How can I handle transportation, whether the school bus or walking to school? And I start laying out that plan. And when the dates approach to August, I started talking to real estate agents and asking which apartments the building had available, in what floor, if we can schedule visits to look at the apartments, and how the decoration process look like, what type of information, what type of documents should we provide to the building in order for them to determine if we were a good fit for the apartment or not. And how long does it take? And long story short, I manifested this apartment for August and I ended up getting it in May. It was shocking for many people that are in my inner circle because they were asking me, like, did you really know as a fact that you were going to live there? And what I said is that based on the secret, I do not allow myself to think different than that I was going to be living here. And by do not having a plan B, that means that I need to start acting and behaving like the person that can afford this type of apartment. And that's what I did. And that's why this book is the Manifestation Bible. And that's why in the end, I decided to include it here. So what are you going to get from this book? First of all, it's a pretty short read. It looks thick on the side, a little thick, but it is not because it's a short book. Take into consideration that it is full of exercises inside it. So practical guides that you will need to complete by yourself. It's not a whole bunch of reading. Second of all, you will understand that manifesting is not only about visualizing who you want to become or where you want your company to go or where you want your team to go or the type of people that you want to lead or the type of leader that you want to become, but it is about learning how those people behave, learning what those companies are doing great, and emulate that and create daily habits that adapt to your lifestyle, that adapt to yourself, that will help you to take the manifestation from vision to reality. That's it for book number 3 in today's video. Let's move forward to book number 4. And book number 4 for today's video is The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book showcases why I love to read physical copies of personal development books. If you see, it's pretty better. It has annotations in it. It has been highlighted. It has scribbled across the pages. And I recommend you to get physical books if they are for personal development because they are kind of a snapshot of your past or a gift from your past to your future self. Let's say if I go again and dive into this book and I open it, I'll be able to see how much I've grown and how much I've evolved since the moment in which I read this book up to today. Because I will be able to see the struggles that I was going through when I read it, and I'll see what problems this book helped me to face and to tackle, and how those are not problems anymore in my life because I've learned how to react and how to behave based on this book. With that quick introduction, what is Mastery of Self about? The Mastery of Self, as the book title said, show you how to master and control how you react to the external world. It's how to understand your emotions, navigate your emotions, and do not let them affect the life of any other people surrounding you. A story for you to understand how this book helped me and why I consider it important and add it to this list. By the time that I read this book, I was having issues with a particular individual, which I did not like. I do not like the term hate people. I do not hate people or concept of or things. I just dislike them. And I dislike this particular human being because I thought that person was doing something intentionally against me. And the book, right in one of the first chapters, has this exercise in which every single time you feel like someone else is having control over your life. So yeah, by allowing that person to impact my life, I was lending control of my life to that person. You need to repeat a mantra, and the mantra goes around the lines of I, Mayrian Sanz, forgive X, Y, or Z because of X, Y, or Z because their actions are not supposed to impact the way in which I react to the world. When I read that the first time, I thought like, oh my God, I'll need to spend my whole life remembering what this person did to me in order to be able to forgive that person. However, it only took me 2 to 3 weeks to go through the process and totally change my perspective about that person or how I allow that person to impact my life. Why? Because in the end, I find myself a lot of times during the day repeating the mantra, and that helped me to notice how much power I was giving to an individual outside of myself and who was doing stuff outside of my control to control my life. Since that moment on, I learned how to control how I react to the world. Now, this is a personal improvement book, but how does it help you in your leadership journey? It helps you a ton because as a leader, people will usually come to you to navigate the uncertainties of business. People will come to you to find calmness, to find guidance. You act as a beacon when you're a leader. So you're supposed to guide everyone. You're supposed to set the direction. You're supposed to set the pace that the people you are supervising are going to dance around. And by mastering your emotions, you will save a lot of time in learning certain soft skills the hard way. Let's say, for example, if you're leading a team and the team or the business is changing strategies, all of your peers and the people below you will feel uncertainty because you're changing gears. They haven't been trained properly, probably they haven't received the right communication yet, and they will come and look for you for guidance. They will look at how you take the news and how you react to those news to set the pace on how they will react. So if the company said that it will change strategies and you panic and you get afraid and you showcase that to your team, most likely than not, the team members that you're supervising, they will also panic, they'll get terrified, and they will get into a panic moment in which they will not be able to perform at their best. However, if even when you do not understand the strategy and the changes that the business is doing, you remain calm and collected, you let them know that you will go ahead and look for the answers and you will report back to them as soon as you have a clear path to follow, they will remain calm because you as a leader are transmitting an aura of calmness, of total control, of understanding of the business process and understanding that business needs to change and need to adapt based on the ever-changing landscape of business development. Got it? Hope that makes sense to you. And if you're willing to master yourself and control your emotions and understand them, this is the perfect book for you. So this was The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz. Now let's go to book number 5. Now the 5th book of today's video is my favorite book ever. I do not condone reread of books, but if you're ever gonna reread a book, this is the book for you. I read this every 2 years and I skim it every year. It is The Fourth Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz. It is not the same book that we will just talk about. It's the same author. And the reason why they look so similar is because it's from the same publishing house. So this is a fourth agreement. And you might ask, Marianne, but if you reread this book all the time, why doesn't it look as better as The Mastery of Self? Why it's not annotated? Why there's no highlights or notes in it? Well, another story for you. Do you remember the CEO at the beginning of this episode when I was talking about From Good to Great? On that conversation, I recommend him The Fourth Agreement. He hadn't read the book, and I promised that the next time that we met, I will give the book to him. So this is actually the copy of the book for that particular CEO. But what happened was that the next time in which we met, I forgot his copy in my house. So I ended up giving him my copy of The Fourth Agreement. He is now in possession of my precious copy, full of annotations, full of highlights, and full of notes about myself. Hopefully he will enjoy the book. And the reason why this is my favorite book, it's also because I've give away around 7 or 8 copies of this book to different people in my inner circle because that's how impactful this book has been in my life. Now, I'm bragging a lot about the 4 agreements. So what is the book about? This book is about 4 commitments or 4 agreements that you made to yourself. And these are agreements that will help you go through life. So they are based on Toltec knowledge. And even though this book is meant on a personal level, I cannot avoid to see how impactful it has been in my leadership development. The first agreement, it's about being impeccable with your word. And what does it mean by being impeccable with your word? It's do not lie about someone else. Do not lie about yourself. Do not try to harm other people by lying about them just because you do not like that people. Also, if someone is telling lies about yourself, do not use lies to define yourself. Do not poison other people against other people. Hopefully that makes sense. And that goes hand in hand to a saying that I have in my life, and it's that everything falls under its own weight. In Spanish, es todo el mundo cae por su propio peso. And what I mean by that is that some people in my past have talked awful stuff about myself. They try to diminish my value. They try to portray me under a different light for people that belongs to my team or had belonged to my team. They try to manipulate the narrative around who I am or things that I've done or I haven't done. Because of the fact that I've read this book, I remain quiet under those scenarios. And life has its way to turn everything around up to the point in which then I have people calling me and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry for the way in which I treat you. I thought you were X, Y, or Z because A, B, and C told me that you were such and such. but you are actually not that person, and I'm willing to work with you and blah, 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 blah. So people are not only doing that because they've noticed the light, because other people are falling under their own weight, but because I'm also show them that I'm not the type of people that react badly towards certain comments. So I know how to manage myself, hint, the mastery of self, and I know how to be impeccable with my words. So you will never see me talking shitty stuff or badly about nobody else if that person is not in the room. The second agreement or the second commitment that you make to yourself is to do not take anything personal. Every single one of us have experienced different things in life and have experienced it in a different way. The best example that I have for that is that I'm the oldest of three siblings. We're all women, so sisters. And one time we get together to talk about experiences from our childhood. Some experiences that were traumatic for me did not have any impact on my sisters' lives. And the reason for that is because we experience them from different lenses. And we tried to debate around it, and we decided to include our mom in the conversation. And when we brought her to the conversation, the perspective that she had from that conversation or from that particular experience was totally different to the one me and every single one of my sister had. What I'm trying to mean by that, it's do not take anything personal, as the second agreement said, because sometimes we have the tendency to think that people are doing stuff against us or to us intentionally, and they're actually not. The reason why we perceive that someone is willing to harm us or we perceive that someone is willing to damage, it's because of our preconceptions. It's because of the things that we believe about that person and how we allow those things to impact our life. That takes me to the third agreement, which is do not assume anything. That agreement is so powerful that in a prior business in which I work, every single wall on that business, and that Dikal said, that who assume everything lose by obligation. And that means is that you cannot avoid or refrain from asking questions. If you feel like someone doesn't like you, do not assume that that person doesn't like you. Ask the right questions, obviously with respect, in regards of why that person is acting against yourself the way in which you're feeling they're acting. Most likely than not, you will feel that everything is a preconceived thing in your mind. So you're taking things personally and that person doesn't have anything against you. Same goes to leadership. When the business changes strategy or when you start in a new company, do not assume that you understand what's going on. Do not assume that you understand the vision of the leader. Ask the questions. Make sure that what you think is the reality, it's what is truly happened. So that way you can better guide your team. And the last of the agreement is always give your best. My best might be only 50% to what you can do. Someone else 200% might be 100% of what I can do. The thing is that whatever task you decide to tackle in life, whether it is reading a book, whether it's painting, whether it's changing a business, taking on a new role, whatever it is that you decide to do with your life, always give it your best. Do not waste your time going halfway through. Do not waste your time, the minimum that is required for the role. Give it your best. Get to a place and leave it better than how you find it. This is an amazing book, and I will recommend it forever to every single person that I have the opportunity to talk about books. And with that, let's go to book number 7 of today's video. And the 7th book for today's video is The Fourth Noble Truth by the Buddhist Association of the United States. For those of you that follow me in the community tab here in YouTube, you will know that I find this little jewel in my little library. For those of you who doesn't know, my little libraries are little stands that are on the street. They don't have people or anything there. You go there, you find books that other people leave behind, and you grab whatever it's that caught your attention. The only precondition is that you need to leave a book behind. So for example, if I want to dispose any of this book, I can take it to one of my little libraries, open the little door, put the book in there, and take one book that resonates with me. I can bring books or take books, and it doesn't matter. I can do one or the other. I hope you grasp the idea. And this is a book that I didn't know I needed until I read it. This book talks about the lesson that Buddha taught to the Buddhists in regards of suffering. This book goes deep in regards of what is suffering, how to go through suffering, how to accept suffering, and how to overcome suffering. So those are the 4 noble truths. Like, suffering is real. There's no way to avoid suffering. You need to go through suffering and how to overcome suffering. I know it sounds so real personal, and you may ask, Mayrian, but why do you say this book is a jewel? Even though it's so tiny, the reason why I say that, it's because this book found me in a moment that I didn't know I needed. I've been living in the United States for 6, 7 years by now. And I lost my four grandparents during the past 4 years. So my two grandmothers and my two grandparents, one of them during the pandemic. And for one reason or the other, I wasn't able to make it to any of their funerals. Whether because it was a pandemic and I wasn't able to travel, whether because I was on a business event for a company that I used to work for, whether because we have visitors in the office and I feel that it was unprofessional on my end to take a plane to go to a funeral when we have important visitors here, or because I couldn't afford the plane tickets. Either one or the other. The point is that I wasn't able to make it to funerals, and I didn't know how much that was affecting my personal and professional life until I read this book. So apparently, I was holding on to my grief. And I keep postponing the grieving process because work comes first, because being a mother comes first, because I need to be there for my kids. I need to be there for the business. I need to be there for the event. And once I read this book and I understand that suffering was real, that it was unavoidable, that I cannot go through life like I'm not suffering because of this loss. I'm not suffering because of X, Y, or Z. I was able to leave my grief, go through that, allow myself to become overwhelmed by the wave of emotions and come victorious on the other side, understanding that suffering should pass and that it will always be overcome, and that suffering is real and that suffering needs to be addressed. I know that this sounds extremely personal, but the reason why I'm adding this book here, it's because if I want to build great leaders tomorrow, if I want to help you become the best version of yourself that you can be, you need to work in your personal and in your professional development. And this book helps you with tools in a personal level, but also give you the tools to be able to help people on your professional level. Meaning that if you understand suffering and you have survived suffering and you embrace suffering as a part of yourself and you learn how to share your story, just as I'm sharing my story with you, you'll be able to generate more empathy and become more empathetic towards the people that you're leading when they are going through similar situations. Whether it's the loss of a family member, whether it's sickness that they're going through, or a hardship that they're going through, whether it's because they lose their jobs, you will be able to be there for them, listen to them, and being empathetic towards them. That not only help you being there for the person, but it also help you to build better business culture as a leader, influence the business culture, and that also help you to generate loyalty and rapport from your direct reports towards you. These are the 7 books for today's video. These are books that I've had physically. In this video right here, I'm going to be sharing the books that I've had and I've go through in a digital version, whether it's ebooks or audiobooks. So go ahead, click on that video right now so we can go in with the conversation. If you want to get any of these books because you find them interested, because you want to give them as a gift to someone else, because you want to read them by yourself, or just because you like the cover and you want to put it on your bookshelf, remember that I'm adding the link to my Amazon storefront in the description of this video. So you can go ahead and find the books right there. Find the specific versions of the books that I've read, and you can just purchase them, whether it is in a paperback, whether it is in a hardcover version, or an audiobook, or an ebook as well. So if you want to know more about ebooks and audiobooks that I recommend, and my experience with them, and how I use them, and you want to keep learning about books that I recommend, I'll see you in that video right now.